Hello and welcome back to ParticularPixels. I'm Xiaoling, and in this video we'll be taking a look at the Lawbreakers beta that took place over this past weekend. For those of you who are subscribers, I do apologize for the lack of content over the past few weeks. There just haven't been that many titles that have grabbed my attention in June that I wanted to cover, I suppose with the exception of Tekken 7, but I wasn't able to get a review code for that due to the size of the channel. So I used the opportunity to get some painting done here at home amongst other things. But things will be returning to normal pretty soon. I am working on a review for Cryptarch in the next few days, as well as an impression for Star Sector, and hopefully my review of Endless Space 2 as well. Okay, so getting back to Lawbreakers. Lawbreakers is a hero-based FPS much like Overwatch. Even though there are some differences between the two games, there are also very many similarities, so there are inevitably going to be some comparisons in this particular video. There are 8 classes in Lawbreakers, all of which play differently. Your support classes, your assault classes, you've got your assassin classes, things like that. Each class has an ability that you can use with Shift and E, and an ultimate where you press Q. Does start to sound kind of similar, doesn't it? Both sides all have the classes, but each of the classes is visually different depending on the side that you're playing on, but otherwise they are identical. You get XP from leveling up. Each time you level up, you get a stash, which is essentially a loot box, which gives you decals, weapon skins, and character skins. Another similarity. The only difference is that the process of getting loot here is painfully slow and uninteresting and unskippable. There is also a currency that can be earned as you play the game, and this currency, much like the coins in Overwatch, can be used to purchase these new cosmetics. I do want to say though, there are no purchasable items that are going to give you an advantage. These are all purely cosmetic upgrades to your different characters, so at least that's a good thing. Game mode wise, there are 4 game modes in the beta. Blitz, which has you capturing a ball in the center of the map, then taking it to the enemy's spawn area to score. Overcharge, which has you getting a battery in the center of the map and taking it back to your base to charge. Once it fully charges, you have to defend it for a certain amount of time in order to score. And then there's Link mode, which has you collecting a satellite dish in the center of the map and then taking it back to your base to download the information, and once it's fully downloaded, you have to defend it in order to score. So yeah, for all intents and purposes, Overcharge and Link are identical. And finally, there's a capture point, which is the most similar to the Dominion modes you're probably used to in other games, where you have to try and capture 2 or 3 points and hold them in order to score points. The maps themselves are pretty small as well in comparison to some of the maps in Overwatch, and so you won't have to run quite as far in order to get back into the action, which leads to a significantly faster pace of gameplay than something like Overwatch. At the center of each map, there's a low gravity section or 0G section, which allows you basically to jump and get really high. If you are one of the characters that can fly, you can pretty much fly around indefinitely. So yeah, this changes things up quite a bit and is actually quite enjoyable. And finally, each stage has health packs lying around, as well as a recharge station which allow you to fully regenerate your health. Now, I played 3 hours of the game over the weekend, and I spent about the same amount of time in the previous alpha, and both times, if I have to be entirely honest, I felt quite underwhelmed by this particular game. It just hasn't grabbed my attention. The character design to me is kind of generic. None of them stood out as particularly interesting for me visually. The levels themselves, although well designed for the most part, are just not that interesting visually. For me, they kind of all just blended together into sort of a mishmash of corridors and all these samey looking environments, and again, nothing that really stood out. For example, with Overwatch's characters and Overwatch's levels, they all stand out. They're very memorable encounters and experiences. The gunplay is mechanically sound and actually quite enjoyable for the most part. It's responsive, it's fluid, and it did have enough weight to be satisfying, which I think is great, but it wasn't enough in order to get my attention in this game. Throughout my time with the game, I constantly found myself wondering why I would choose this over Overwatch. It has some very similar mechanics, but none of the personality. It's fun for a while, but I very quickly started to feel like I was just doing the same thing over and over. It didn't inspire me to want to progress further in the game, or even to continue playing for that matter, and because of that, I just started losing interest. Obviously, I can't expect the kind of teamwork and the synergies that I'm used to from Overwatch, since all the people are new to this particular game, but I don't see the kind of epic plays that you see in Overwatch happening here in Lawbreakers. You know, those team fight changing, match winning plays, or that teamwork that makes a massive difference in how the match turns out. Lawbreakers seems to be trying to do so many similar things, but ends up falling short. And no, I'm not saying it's a bad game, I'm just saying that it doesn't stand out as anything particularly special. I'd imagine people will enjoy it for a while and then move on. What I've played so far suggests to me it's not going to have the kind of staying power that something like Overwatch has. So yeah, as I said earlier, while I was playing this, I was constantly wondering why I was not playing Overwatch instead. The good news though is I suppose that Lawbreakers is not going to be a full $60 title. I think if it was, it would be doomed to fail. But as a $30 title, perhaps it's going to be a way more attractive proposition for some people. But even then, Overwatch was only €20 a few weeks ago, and Blizzard are constantly having specials on Overwatch. Lawbreakers didn't grab me in the alpha, and it certainly hasn't grabbed me now. I'll try and get a review copy when it does launch to get you guys an impression of the full game. Who knows, maybe there are some big changes in store that are going to change my opinion, but as it stands now, it's just not something that I'm interested in playing at all when I can play Overwatch, a game that basically does everything better. Anyways guys, I think that about wraps up what I have to say about Lawbreakers. Hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's been pretty short, but yeah, there's only so much to be said, I suppose. If you did like the video, give it a like, subscribe if you want updates on more content. If you didn't like the video, you can dislike it as well. Thanks for watching guys, I've been Charling, until next time.